Thank you for joining us for today's URA member webinar. My name is Jennifer Clegg, and I'm the Executive Director for the URA. And today's presenters are AJ Stager with FiberLok Technologies, along with retailers Jason Appel with Uniform Outfitters, and Kimberly Davis, who we like to call Kim, with Uniform Headquarters. In this webinar, all of these guys are going to discuss transforming your decoration operations with heat transfers. So now sit back and get comfortable. Jason and Kim and AJ, the screen is all yours.
Good morning, everyone. We are going to discuss the benefits for our company with FiberLok. And one of the first topics is embroidery challenges if you outsource. Jason, I know you and I have discussed this. So what's your feelings on this?
Sure. Yeah, so our business, I think similar to yours, Kim, is that we do our own embroidery in-house. So we have we have employees that actually do our embroidery as well. And we also, in addition to that, we do outsource some of it for some of our larger jobs. But the main thing that we've been able to do with FiberLok is it has helped us tremendously in taking on more jobs and being able to turn around these bigger jobs much more quickly than we were able to do with just embroidery. The biggest challenge for us is time, and FiberLok has enabled us to take on more jobs, being able to control when the job's being run, when the job's being done, and how quickly that we need to turn it around. And so, it's been a huge success for our business. We've been using it now for, I would say, over 2 years for many of our big clients, and we've had a ton of success with it, and really it's been it's, transformational, I would say, as far as being able to help our business with our customers, and we've heard nothing but great feedback from them. So it's been a great success. Like I said, we've been using it now for over 2 years, and it's been a great addition for our business.
This as well. We're a little newer. However, I know when we discussed with AJ, the different challenges, and I think everybody can really read the bullet points here. But for us, it was identifying why it is so much of a challenge when you're outsourcing. And so many of these, it's a lot of smaller retailers might not have the opportunity to have the equipment in-house. It's a huge expense, not to mention the employees. So I think if everybody just takes a moment to read those, they'll understand that these are probably the biggest obstacles, as to why you have to outsource. And then I think on our next slide, we talk about the challenges of doing it yourself. As you mentioned, Jason, we too have embroidery in-house. I have 2 people. One is a backup. However, they've been with me for 10 years, but what if they're on vacation? What if their children are sick and you have a job that needs to get done? It's a little more task at hand if you don't have the right person. And it's really difficult these days to find someone who is trained and able to do that.
Yeah, and just to kind of go over a little bit what you were saying, Kim, I think one of the another big challenge with doing embroidery in-house is and I think you touched on it, is just finding people that are good operators. And that's been a huge challenge for us, as far as finding good operators, someone that could run the machines. I mean, we were for years, I mean, just, every month, having to pay for our, tech guys to come out to fix the machines. It would slow us down because the machines are down. You're unable to get the work done. So, that in itself, I think, has saved us a ton of money by cutting down on, tech and getting guys to come out and fix the machines, and, And I think we also talked about having less employees. If you don't have, if you're running big jobs and you don't have a lot of machines and you don't have a lot of people, it's hard to turn that stuff around quickly. So, that's, other things that we've looked at that the reason why we turned to, FiberLok is to, being able to help us in that way of cutting down employees and just in turning around, jobs much quicker than we were able to before.
100%. And I can embroider. It's my least favorite job to do at the store. And so it leads me to the embroidery challenges that are here. This is a major pet peeve of mine, is the puckering. And there's so many different fabric contents that are out in the market right now for industry. And so you have to understand or have a great understanding of these fabrics so you know what to do about the puckering. But it is a huge frustration for our company. And you can read here, there's so many different challenges behind this little situation.
Kim, are you seeing that change with the fabrics that are being used today being lighter and more dry fit style?
100%. I mean, it is, finding what is the right backing, how many pieces of backing and at that point you've already embroidered on the garment. So it is an extreme challenge for us.
Well, let me shift the conversation a little bit. We've been talking about the challenges that you can encounter when you are doing embroidery, whether it's in-house or outsourced. And some of you might be wondering, what's a heat transfer, but I'm going to get more specific and talk about what's a flocked heat transfer. So the heat transfer, of course, is something that you can apply very quickly with a heat press, which we're going to talk about here in a couple of slides. And it's something that can make, I believe, your life quite a bit easier. But what is a flocked heat transfer? So the flock that we use here at FiberLok is a nylon fiber. It is very soft. It's softer than embroidery. We have done a lot of work. We've been in business for more than 40 years. And one of the great things that we developed early on was some adhesives that are very, very strong. So these are very, very durable. It looks like flock fibers would be easy to pull away or to wash away, but in fact, they usually last longer than the garment itself. They're quite resistant to abrasion, and we all know that in some work instances that definitely can happen. There's no loss of color. There's a lot of options out there where you're going to see fading over time, and there's no loose threads. So there's a lot of really positive things I think that a flocked heat transfer can offer over a typical embroidery solution. So just briefly, we have 3 products that we wanted to focus on today that I think can help, again, replace that embroidery option and, as you'll see here, make your business a little bit more flexible and maybe able to pursue a few more opportunities for generating revenue. So we have 3 products. The first one is called Lextra. This is our own product that we developed, again, almost 40 years ago. It has a very soft hand and texture. It is the same product that you saw on the previous slide with the Wrangler. We can do up to 6 colors, which covers most designs. So it is by far our most popular product. It does have an MOQ that's a little bit higher than some other products. So we come in at 250 pieces for colors that are within our stock color range, which we have almost 50 that are in the stock colors. And if you're going to get custom colors, which you certainly can do, we do have an MOQ of 500. So this is, again, the workhorse for us and where most people go to replace their embroidery. The second product that we have is very similar. It's still made with flock fibers, but it's a single color, and it's usually used for groups that are trying to monogram, or in this instance you can see somebody has fine print that they want to capture a lot of detail. So this is another offering that we have. It does have a lower MOQ of 125. And then the final product we wanted to talk about is a dye sublimated fabric. This is great for situations where we have lots of colors in the design, where we have things like gradients or very difficult colors to represent, And so it's a great way to have a multicolor design, and it's also got a little lower price point and an MOQ of 125. We're now going to move to some examples, and these are live examples, many of which come from Kim and Jason's customers. And so what you're going to see here is first the version that was embroidered that the customer either came to these folks with or maybe were being used, and then when it got replaced with a FiberLok product, what that difference is. So first one you can see here is a lot of clarity and line definition. The colors are vibrant, the colors are continuous through the design. To me, I think it just looks a lot sharper.
It's actually ours, if I can interject in there. And
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I cringe to see the embroidery, and I want you to know that it is the exact same fabric piece
They're
that these
both
examples
applied to
are.
the
So
same-
you can, they're both applied to the exact same garment and for reference, and it's amazing the difference.
The next one here is one that FiberLok did for another customer, but I like to illustrate it because it has so many examples of detail that was lost between the original embroidered version versus what we were able to do. The original artwork from the customer, in this case the Catholic school, had things like colored gemstones in the crown, which were not able to be done, or at least they chose not to do. And you can see that that kind of detail was able to be captured when we went back to the original art and replicated it. So lots of detail that we can get to. This next one was also from Kim, Vanderbilt Health, and again you can see just a lot of clarity. To me, I see that acorn and the oak leaf much more clearly, and of course the lettering too. You really notice a lot when the lettering gets tilted. This one's from Jason, and I think this is a great illustration because we have two slides that covers this. Jason, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this was a customer. It was a school, and they, we obviously embroidered their logo prior to using, FiberLok or Lextra on this particular school. And one of the challenges, and you'll see like on the next slide, but one of the challenges that we had with this school is that there's like in the banner, there's some fine detail, where it's really, you can't read it. And so when we switched them over, to using the Lextra product, you can see that the fine detail, like the established 2017, is much cleaner. In addition to that, you can also see like where the C is on top of the shield. With Lextra, you're able to get the depth and the really to give it that embroidered look and feel. And so, in my opinion, and as well as our customer, it's just a lot cleaner, especially if you got, a lighter shirt where you're going to have the backing, and the back side of the embroidery where it could be uncomfortable. So that's, one of the things that, we discuss with our customers. And when I show them this, they're like, they look at it, they're like, oh, wow, this is something, yeah, we want to try, we want to use. And so this is, kind of like what you can, share with your customers. And that's like, what I share with ours is, what it looks like before with embroidery, and then what it looks like, when, with the FiberLok or Lextra patch that we put on the product.
It's crazy the thread density difference, like in the back, with different letters, how you can see some are more dense than others compared to the example on the right. I mean, that's amazing.
And it's really like if you get, when you're doing embroidery, and anybody that's done embroidery, when you're doing thread on top of thread, it becomes very dense. You get a lot of thread breaks, and when you're running a lot of items and you're dealing with thread breaks, there's, it just, makes the job run that much slower when you're having to deal with that. And this particular design was just a logo that just gave us a headache, constantly when we were running it. And so, you're going to be, one, you're going to have a nicer product to show the customer, and number two, it's going to be more comfortable, for who's wearing the shirts. So it's, definitely been a win for us all the way around.
Another one of those challenges where your needle breaks because of the density and because it's going over top of thread. Just
Yep.
another one of those. And how long does that logo take to run? Do you remember?
That design was probably, I would say, about 15 minutes.
Mhm.
15 minutes to run, versus 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds. So huge difference. This one here, this is another school that we are embroidering their logo. Now this one, you can see from this here, it's a very, high stitched logo. This particular design, uh, I think it was about 35 or 40 minutes to run this. So when we were embroidering, 12 to 1500 of these items, you can just, you can figure out, how long that's going to take to run. In addition to that, you start to see like the outline of this logo. You start to see where it starts to wave and you start to get some puckering, and it's not even washed. And so, once they wash these, it just, you start to get that puckering, and then the logo, starts to have like, it starts to curl. And again, this is like no washing, no anything. And then if you see the Lextra patch that we did, it just, you get all that fine detail where the letters are in the banner. Again, where the banners are always typically challenging for embroidery. And then the crest part where you have all that thread, it just comes out looking, so much cleaner, and you still get the depth and the depth that gives it that embroidered look. So it's been, this was like a great design as far as using Lextra.
And that silver white background there looks like an embroidered stitch, but it's actually fabric. So this is specialized fabric that we use to help promote that idea that it still has the feeling. If you have customers that are uncomfortable with moving away from embroidery, this might be an option where they can still feel like it still looks a little bit like embroidery, but as this team has said, has some advantages. So real quickly, equipment required. I just wanted to let everybody know that this is something that you can get into for a lot less than acquiring embroidery machines. Heat presses, there's a huge variety out there. They can be as little as 300 up to 3,000. We're happy to provide recommendations to people. I tend to go about in the middle of that price range just because you want to get a good quality machine that's going to last you. And again, it is certainly a huge discount from what you would spend on embroidery equipment. Jason mentioned the seconds that it takes. Press time varies depending on the logo and the garment, but 15 to 30 seconds is pretty typical. And so an operator with one stack of garments on one side and a box to put together the shipment on the other can really get through about 40 to 60 garments in an hour, and that's what we've seen it takes. And of course, that just changes completely your operations and the way you guys can be more responsive to customer demands. Training also is very quick. It does not take a lot. There's a few tricks of the trade that you have to learn, but it's nothing compared to an embroidery machine.
Margin of error too, it needs to be pointed out that it is very small when you're doing the heat press.
Yes. So a couple of things that we think why it might be a good idea to get started today. First of all, we've mentioned it multiple times, but faster production time. I will say that it is about a 2-week wait for our product. The third product that I shared with you, the tackle knit, is a 1-week turnaround, but we need a couple of weeks in order to get ready and get you the logos in advance. But once that happens, And especially if your customer is a repeat orderer who's going to use the same design over and over again, you then can have a stock and be able to turn things around very quickly. Consistency, I know that has been a big thing for you, Kim, hasn't it?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I mean, that is what sold us on everything is the consistency and that we're able to put out a finished product that's going to look the same each time. It's crucial for us.
One of the ways that you can also continue that consistency is you can use this logo on a very heat sensitive fabric. So for anybody out there who's worried that they have potentially sweaters that need to be decorated, we offer something called a heat sensitive kit. It's a simple little piece that we use to raise your garment off of the hot bottom of the actual heat press, and it focuses all of that heat just on the place where you need it. So we offer that for free with any order, and it's custom made to the shape of your logo. So we definitely have solutions for sensitive fabrics.
It was amazing to me just learning that. Then thankfully Jason was gracious enough to give me a little training seminar on it. And I mean that's going to be a game changer for us now that I know that.
Yeah, hopefully, that helped, Kim. I mean, I was actually, AJ, I was talking with, my employee that does all of our heat press, and I was asking her because, I would say 90% of what we use are heat sensitive products. That's how where we use FiberLok logos. So we typically need, that heat shield for almost all of our products. And I was just asking her the other day before we did this, I was like, hey, for you, does it slow down, the time that you're able to press it? She said, no, absolutely not. Once they get used to it, she's like, I can do this just as quick with or without, the heat shield or to help with those products. So it doesn't take any longer, maybe a little bit initially just to get used to it, but once they get used to using it, that it doesn't slow down the job at all.
That's great. And I think that there's also been a lot of places in here where we have talked about the fact that it can save you some money. Now, the product itself may not be less expensive on a per thread or per raw material, but when you really consider all those pieces, I know that I've heard from you guys that you need less machinery, you need less space. You already talked about the employees and the skills that may be required in order to run an embroidery machine, and you really can get someone up to speed in a couple hours on this. Jennifer, we have a trade show coming up, don't we?
Yeah, we do. It's actually, as you see, the 20th annual trade show. So we will be celebrating 20 years of retailers and manufacturers, all of us together. We do have some fun things planned. So we hope not only will we have some good education, but we'll also have some great networking opportunities too. Our floor plan is filling up, and we hope to get registration out very soon. So everybody, but you can book your room now. So go ahead and book your room, get that over with, and then we'll see you in October.
Sounds good, and you're welcome to visit us at booth number 109. So as a final slide here, we just wanted to offer some ideas on getting started. First of all, if this is of interest to you and you've got some artwork that you'd like us to provide a quote on, we can get started right away. That QR code will send you to our website, and you'll find a form on there to submit it, or you're also welcome to just email us at sales@fiberlok.com. And we're not going to just shoot back something without having a conversation with you. So if you've got questions still, don't worry. If you want to just send over an art file, we'll talk you through what the options are, what's best for that particular artwork, and we definitely are looking out for our customers. And then as far as questions, we're making available all of the members of today's panel to you guys. So you can email us, you can save this slide, and email any of us or call us. And I know that Jason and Kim have volunteered to answer questions that you guys might have and they can give you direct, experience on how it was to get started.
Yep.
I think, Jennifer, did we have a couple questions too that have been posed
Yeah,
before while we still have AJ?
absolutely. I do have one, AJ. What's one type of customer or order where you'd say this is a no-brainer for FiberLok?
Oh, I think so. A no-brainer would be, first of all, because of our MOQs, I'd say that it's anything where you're looking at 500 plus decorations, and it's something that might have some complexity to it. So if you've got maybe some fine details in the design, or maybe some gradients or colors that are just something you don't want to try and tackle, it's a great solution. It's 2 weeks. We get the product to you, and then you can get through it, the manufacturing process, very, very quickly. So those are no-brainers for me, Jennifer.
Great.
Can I
And
add
on
that-
the other side, oh, I'm so sorry,
No,
Kim.
sorry. I was going to add to that. Just for the maybe a retailer that doesn't know what the MOQ is, what that means.
Oh, I'm sorry. MOQ is minimum order quantity.
Okay. I just in case somebody didn't know what that meant. And then I wanted to kind of elaborate on the 500 pieces. Not every group that I have is going to place an order for 500 or even 200 right now. But to me, it was worth the investment because I do a lot of individual orders for them and the employees are buying their own garments. So I went ahead and made the investment up front. And the satisfaction and the consistency that it's given me long term has increased my individual orders. So I just want to make that note that if some people are afraid, well, I'm not going to get an order from someone that's 250 pieces or 500 pieces, sometimes the initial investment is far greater for the long term customer turn.
And I've heard that it also gave you an opportunity to expand your sales because you were able to put it on different garments and do the, I think you've said kind of this mobile decoration option for your customers as well.
Absolutely. We are, now it's allowed us to have we have hospital sales, but we set up an additional date where it's just logo gear. So we roll in our heat press, we have a bunch of blank colors, and the employee can walk up and choose their item. So it's also provided me the opportunity to come into their facility one more time.
And AJ, I wanted to also say, like since you're telling us who all needs it, where does FiberLok not make sense? Like when should a retailer still choose embroidery?
I think embroidery still has a place, and so I believe that FiberLok makes a great partner to work together with the embroidery that you do. But the place where I would see that embroidery still makes sense is really kind of the opposite of what Kim was just describing. When you don't have the ability to invest, or you have to just respond quickly to maybe a dozen designs with no real vision towards the future with that particular customer. So if it's somebody who I need 12 t-shirts and they need to be tomorrow, we're probably not a good solution. But it doesn't require a long-term contract either. I think it's just as long as you have a relationship and you know that you have business that you either are expecting or that you want to go after, then I think we become a really good solution.
Great.
I'll just add on just a little bit to that. I mean, we're, as far as, for our groups, any of our big groups that require, like you said, AJ, as far as a detailed logo, easy, that's definitely like a no-brainer. But also some of our groups that just require, a fast turnaround time. We have customers that, they'll place large orders with us and they need them back in, a week. So, we weren't able to turn around, our orders that quickly. And so if you do have a customer that is like, hey, they'll give you an order and they expect you to have it done tomorrow, it is, by far, you're going to be able to offer that, with FiberLok. And even if it's a large logo or anything like that, that's a pain to run. Like if you have, a customer that, orders, 100 shirts, but then they need individual orders. I mean, the beauty about that is, you can get it done in, 20 seconds, 30 seconds if they need, 5 shirts. If you have customers that are waiting for the product, where before they had to come back to your store, now you're able to give it to them, the day that they walk into your store, that you can turn it around right then and there. And that's been a big help for us where the customer doesn't have to come back for their orders.
Okay, guys, I guess that's it for today's webinar. I want to give a big thank you to AJ, Jason, and Kim for sharing your knowledge with all the retailers out there, the URA members. We are grateful for your time because I know you guys are all really busy. And I just want to thank you for your continued support of the URA, AJ, and we look forward to seeing you and everybody else in October in Vegas for our 20th anniversary show.